What's up, Audiophiles? It's Gary at the Audiophile Zone, and I'm here with Jim Kaplan, Record Collector News, and our guest, Tom Schnabel, famous music critic, blah, blah, blah. What's up, Tom? What's going on?
Hi, Gary. Thanks for inviting me into this, and thank you for being my audio guru for probably 2 decades and going.
I'm not that old. I can't have been your guru that long.
Single decade.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and bring up your little biography. Well, not a biography, it's more of a synopsis of some high points of your career. Of course, internationally recognized radio producer, pioneer, all this kind of stuff, and was on probably the most famous thing I recall you from is Morning Becomes Eclectic.
Yeah, that was the signature show of the station. And I was, as the first music director, I got to do it for 12 years. And I invited a lot of people into our studios. In the background, what we see here is the John Adams Middle School campus in Santa Monica, because we didn't even have our own studios. We were in a middle school classroom. But it didn't stop me from inviting everybody, including Gil Scott-Heron, who you see in this picture.
Yeah, I saw a concert by him. It was actually at the Culver City High School auditorium. You can imagine that.
In this photograph, I think it was December 9th, 1980. And I remember he had come down to open for Stevie Wonder at the Forum. And he had been up in San Francisco the night before he came down and visited us. And after the show, they were touring with Stevie Wonder. Someone came on the microphone and said, John Lennon has just been shot and killed.
Oh my God.
They waited until the end of the concert to announce it. And so he came into the studio and we talked a lot about his, Gil Scott-Heron's love for John Lennon. And this was before, he got strung out. So, I mean, he was still really together, and he, with Brian Jackson and the Midnight Band, he was, producing incredible records with incredible lyrics, very inspirational. And it was sad to see him go down the hill, but he did. But anyway, that's what this snapshot is. December 9th, 1980, Gil Scott-Heron visiting Morning Becomes Eclectic on the middle school campus where our little primitive studio was located then.
Yeah, I want to refer people to your Rhythm Planet blog, which has got incredible information on recordings and just everything in the world. So I would encourage everybody to go to that little link that's on the screen and check it out because it's fantastic stuff. Jim, have you seen the Rhythm Planet stuff?
Oh yeah, that's just a great website.
Yeah, it's too bad. A lot of the images were removed by the station because they were afraid of being sued by copyright holders, whatever.
Well, Jim, you can talk about that, but we'll talk about that another time.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but I'm just saying that there are 1,000 images, photographs, everything was deleted. Everything.
Wow, that's terrible.
But the writing is still over 1,000 features, over 1,000. But that's whatever. That's life. The writing is still there. It's all mine, and I'm very proud of it.
Yeah, wow. It's fantastic resource. So now we're going to go to the informational part of the video where we're going to show the Tom Schnabel method for opening a CD. Everybody's got a CD nose. Let me go ahead and do a bigger screen. When you get CDs, they have this crap on the edge and they have this crap on the other edge. Oh, Jim's got one. Mine's not sealed. But
I have no idea how to open this.
I guess there's some kind of that's for like tamper resistance or theft or something like that. I don't know.
I think it was so you could read what the disc was when it was in the stacks in the aisle in a record store. So
they put that super adhesive sticky stuff on the edge, and I usually try to use my fingernail to scrape it off, and that doesn't work too well. Then I stick my finger under the edge, try to get it off. But there's the Tom Schnabel method, and we're going to see that right now.
Okay. First, you have a CD with this incredible top 40 CD. I can't believe. Can you see it?
Yeah, we can see it good enough.
Old Believers, songs of the. Hang on, I have to get my glasses. Songs of the Nekrasov Cossacks. So this is top 40 stuff. I can't believe I haven't given it heavy rotation. So I'm going to show you if I can just get my orientation right. So here it is. So the first thing you do is to get a push pin. I'm getting a push pin. This is the correct way to get rid of the shrink wrap. God, I wish this weren't so backwards. So you have the CD here. I'm taking this push pin. I have to sort of remember how to go backwards here. I'm taking a push pin and I'm going along the spine. The spine being right here. So I'm going along the spine, which is easy because it goes right along the little notch there. We are removing the shrink wrap. Shrink wrap removed. Okay.
Now here's the key part. This is really cool.
Hold it up.
No, now this is weird because the writing was actually on the shrink wrap and not on the album, which is a little weird. If I can just get my orientation right, but I'll continue with the lesson. Okay. Yeah, the writing was on the shrink wrap, which kind of messes things up, but I'm going to show you anyway. What you do is you unhook the bottom of the CD, of the little hinge on the bottom. So you lift up, and you take it off. And then you can just basically you can peel off the adhesive stuff. You peel it off and it comes off easily.
Yeah, we missed all the good stuff on that. I think part of it was that you actually take the hinge off.
You have to take the hinge off. You take the hinge off.
And then the whole thing just pops off like this, and then
and then you're able to take
comes off with it. See that?
Yeah.
And then you just put it back together.
Yeah. I wish
I had. Jim, let's see if you can do it.
So first you take a push pin, and you do it. Push it right along where the black hits the clear. Push it down.
I like that.
And you want to give it a try?
I don't have okay, I already got that.
You don't have a push pin.
I'm not safety rated for anything other than a butter knife, so.
Okay. Well, a butter knife isn't going to work. You have to. A push pin is also the best way of taking an album, like this amazing album, and getting rid of the cellophane on the album, or opening up this part without damaging anything.
It's the second best way.
Yeah, you have to check out our other video on Jim Kaplan's method for that. But yeah, we kind of didn't get to see too much on how the cover came apart. But
so how do I?
Okay, at the hinge, take up one corner. Just pull it back so the whole cover comes off like this.
Oh.
See?
I see. Okay. Okay.
And see how
usually a little adhesive strip. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you just pull the crap off.
Yeah.
You have to be smart enough to put it back together the right way.
Well, that could be a little problem. But
hey,
anyway,
it worked.
Of course, now.
Of course it worked.
Yeah.
Tom opens like hundreds of CDs a month.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, I'm going to invest in a push pin.
Yeah, the push pin.
I found
Okay,
one.
let's go back to the good old slideshow so we can, and we're going to talk about some of these fantastic guests you've had at KCRW. Was this at KCRW?
Yes, this is the KCRW basement studio on the Santa Monica College campus.
I remember that well.
The
I used to work
former
there.
basement studio. So this is it. This is Nina Simone's second visit to KCRW. Roger Steffens, the host of the Reggae Beat at the time and the world authority on Bob Marley. He's written several books about Bob Marley, who, by the way, was the first guest on the Reggae Beat in the fall of '79. The Reggae Beat was the first show that I put on as the new music director, and Bob Marley was the first guest.
Wow,
just pretty amazing. Nina Simone's second visit to the station. Nina Simone liked me. We got along well. In her first visit, she was kind of a testy person, and you had to kind of be careful. But I knew her work intimately, and I knew her story. I knew her birth name. I knew everything about her. I think I had read Princess Noire and all the books about her. So she came into the studio, and we did the first interview. She did a second interview where she broke down crying. I think the first interview she walked in and had to be kind of led by the arm by her minder, her friend, whoever the publicity person, and she seemed very fragile and very sort of. She just seemed like she was hurt, and my feeling, the second time she came in, she was a completely different person. She was angry. She was hostile, and she broke down crying in the middle, saying that I would have rather have picked potatoes than be in show business.
Wow.
She didn't like show business, and she was trained as a classical pianist. She took her auditioned at Curtis Institute in Philadelphia and didn't make it. She thought it was racism. Jeff Lieberman, who made The Other, and in my opinion, the best film about her, said that at Curtis they give you a full ride, full ride, full paid for everything. So only 2 people out of 100 would get in. Juilliard would take a lot of people because they didn't give you a full ride. In any event, and we probably will never know. I actually tried to reach the people at Curtis, the judges who judged her performance of whatever classical piece that she played, and no one was still alive. No one could answer anything. I tried to get the records of her audition, and I don't think I ever was able to find those records. And I think Jeff Lieberman, the film of I've forgotten what happened to Miss Simone. His other film is really a good film on Nina Simone. Anyway, she was stung by that. She changed her name from Eunice Wayman to Nina Simone because she started playing in an Irish bar in New Jersey. And she didn't want her parents to know that she had become an entertainer in a bar. She didn't want her parents to know, so she changed her name.
Wow.
Nina was something else. I mean, when she was one of her first performances in Trayon, North Carolina, where she was born and raised, she did a public recital, and the ushers put her parents in the back of the room. And Nina got up and said, "I will not play unless my parents were in the front of the room," because it was racist. It was Jim Crow. And so they moved her parents to the front of the room, and then she went on with the recital. Wow. So even at a very young age, she stood up for herself.
Okay, let's go to the next slide here. Oh, Ravi Shankar.
My very first interview on Morning Becomes Eclectic as the new new music director was with Ravi Shankar.
Oh, wow.
To his right is Ruth Seymour. Then her name was Ruth Hirschman, who was
Right.
general manager and who hired me. And she was a child of the 60s in many ways. So Ravi Shankar was a central figure in anybody who grew up in the 60s. The funny thing about this, I also esteemed Ravi Shankar. I had his records. I cleaned the studio. I brought in cleaning equipment, rags. I dusted everything. I vacuumed the floor. I put fresh flowers up. I did everything. I wanted the primitive little studio to look bespoke. Well, so Ravi Shankar came in with the UCLA publicity person who was smoking an unfiltered Pall Mall cigarette, walked right into the studio smoking. And I said, well,
back in the day.
I'm really glad that I just cleaned everything, freshened everything, put the flowers up, everything else, because it just seemed strange. But Ravi Shankar told me about his life, told me amazing things. Anybody who likes Ravi Shankar, you must see the film by Alan Kozlowski, the late Alan Kozlowski, called Raga, R-A-G-A. It shows Ravi Shankar. It shows his discipleship with his mentor, Baba Alauddin Khan, who was Ali Akbar Khan's father, and just the incredible story of his life. You know, he was a little dandy. He was a little dandy. He could sing, he could dance, he could do all these different things. And he was on luxury boats, luxury liners, like, you know, the Normandy, the SS France, the other boats, as entertaining with his brother or maybe uncle, and I'm trying to think of his name. Anyway, I don't remember. But anyway, so he was part of the entertainment, and he sailed around the world. He was in Paris in the 1930s. Hanging out with some of the left bank people then, and actually before left bank people like Cocteau and others back then. So he was a little dandy. When he got back to India, his guru said, "You can't do that anymore. You have to focus on one thing." Put Ravi Shankar into a cinder block shack where he practiced day and night for 8 years to get into the goal of being a great sitar player. So the role of guru, student, discipleship in India for classical Indian music is just staggering. And he worked hard to get to where he was. And he was much more than just the guy who taught George Harrison how to play the sitar. Much more than that.
Wow, that's amazing. I didn't know his Western background, so that's quite interesting. Maybe that helped him bring the traditional Indian music to the Western world because he knew it a little bit.
Yeah. But I mean, when he toured, he was with his uncle or older brothers. His name started with a V, and I don't remember the name. The dance group. It was still classical Indian dance and music. It wasn't pop music at all. The pop music came with the Beatles in the 60s. And I think it was probably because of George Harrison studying with Ravi Shankar how to play the sitar, not an easy instrument to play with 26 strings or 26 notes in the scale. Everything contrary to the Western system. But I interviewed Ravi probably about 5 or 6 times. I have a Deutsche Grammophon record that I should show you. I didn't pull out, but it has his incredible signature like 5 or 6 times on the record. Every time he came, if you want to pause it, I can go get it and show you.
No, that's okay. We got quite a few more slides to go.
Okay.
So
let's keep
going. All right. Branford Marsalis.
Me with Branford. Branford was doing the Tonight Show, so he was here in LA, and he would come in all the time. We always had a great time. He would play music. Tim Hauser, a late singer with the Manhattan Transfer, is on his left. with the great Will Thornberry, who knew more about jazz than anybody I've ever known, is on my right. I'm not sure who the bearded guy is to Will's right. I'm not really sure. But Bradford came down a lot, and I love being with him. And Tim Hauser was doing a show on KCRW for a while.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, Sunday sings jazz with Tim in the city. Da, 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 da. And so the Manhattan Transfer, performed at the opening of the new studios in June of '84, and they were all friends at the station. It was a wonderful time. A wonderful time.
Okay, what about this one?
Velvet Fog, Mel Torme. Mel Torme came in and he had like blue velvet hush puppies on, and I was always prepared to see him as sort of a little saccharine. And he was the nicest guy, and I don't think I realized, maybe until then or maybe after then, how incredibly talented he was as an arranger with the Meltones, all the records he did, as a singer. Absolutely staggering talent. I wish I had kept all the Japanese import LPs that I got from Polygram back in the day, but MRC and all the other labels, but I didn't. They're still in the KCRW library, gathering dust. But Mel Torme.
What was he doing? What was he doing at the studio? Was he promoting a performance or something?
I think he may have had a performance there, but
okay.
he could lead an orchestra. He could arrange for singers, for an orchestra. He was an incredibly talented musician overall. He wasn't just the Velvet Fog, which I think they named because of his voice, because he had a very kind of soft voice. He was a complete something else. He was a musical macho, if I've ever met one.
Okay, so we're going to go on to some recordings that you've recommended. So first one is Crescent. One of my favorite LPs too.
I don't know whether you can see this, but this is the new UMG custom pressing of Crescent.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
It's 180 grams. I bought this record from Elusive Disc, because they just do such a great job. The pressing they're better than the originals by far. Quiet, better pressed. The jacket and the gloss on the jacket they call it tip on or something like that, is better than the original one. So, for me, worth my whatever, $35, $40, whatever I spent, worth every single penny. The reason why I chose this record is that it came just 6 months before A Love Supreme, but it's a very tonal record. It doesn't challenge like A Love Supreme. A Love Supreme is not something to introduce people to jazz. You do that with Dave Brubeck or whatever. But this is a record that featured the famous quartet toward the later year of the quartet, and he played three songs on the A side, 2 songs on the B side, one with Elvin Jones called The Drum Thing. It was, I think, another year before he recorded Ascension and was really changing his sound and his whole spiritual ideology. He still has the classic quartet. And this is a record that was kind of overlooked, I think. People talk about, some of the, Giant Steps and My Favorite Things and A Love Supreme, but they forget about Crescent. It is a masterpiece of a record. I think it's not well enough known, and I think it should be. It's just a stunning record.
I agree. That's it, and it's Wise One is one of my tracks I use for reference. It's a fantastic recording.
Wise One I played on Martin Luther King's birthday.
Oh, wow.
There just, for me, was a connection along with all the other songs. That was always something that I played for Martin Luther King.
Okay, let's move to your next selection.
I think if Coltrane were still with us somehow, or his spirit, which always will be with us, it would be in this record and Chris Potter. Chris Potter, for all the saxophonists out there, and there are a lot of saxophonists doing wonderful things, but Chris Potter is just an astonishing saxophone player. Incredible. My last flute teacher, who is a very, very, very good saxophone player, I mentioned Chris Potter, and he just kind of went, "Oh my God, yes." He's just an unbelievable musician. And this album, to me, has that same sort of a forward-reaching, looking to the future type of spirit that Coltrane did. So I think really in terms of the spirit of Coltrane manifested today, I think it's in Chris Potter. I think it's in Chris Potter. His group here, Craig Taborn, incredible, very, very abstract player, but playing very, very sort of in the middle on this one. David Verreyes from Cuba, Larry Grenadier, Eric Harlan. Can't get better bassist and drummer than that. I just think that his improvisations, the rigor of his improvisations, the way that he plays, he's not just playing out or doing this or doing that. He knows exactly where he is. He knows he's an astonishing player. I missed he did one concert here, I think at the Jazz Bakery, and I missed it because I was out of town. I kicked myself for that, but this is the guy. He may not be associated as much with Coltrane as Kamasi Washington,
right?
But if you put both of the players together, in a what they used to call a cutting contest, I don't even want to tell you what would happen. Kamasi is doing something else, and I think he's doing something really important. The cover shows him like Moses, parting the Nile, that kind of thing, and he's doing something important. But for just a music album and sort of really connecting with Coltrane, Chris Potter, you can hardly find anybody better. And this record is an unbelievable record.
I will also mention there's an excellent sound on the ECM label, which they traditionally have excellent sound. So this is one that people should be looking out for, I think.
Yeah, it came out a few years ago, but I still wanted to pull it up because it's one of those records that I keep listening to and keep finding new wonderful things, even though I've listened to it a ton of times. And also ECM, they put everybody in a big studio. Sometimes they use New York, sometimes they use Southern France, but it's always, you get that concert hall sound. The engineers are fabulous, as opposed to the Blue Note sound. I just got the new Horace Parlan record on Tone Poet, and which I had to pay for, by the way. Totally worth it. That's the Blue Note sound. Small studio, everything, mic'd the way, you got to leave it to an optometrist who's used to measuring and doing everything very precisely to run a studio. And Rudy Van Gelder was like that. Everything that he did was so good.
Yeah.
Well,
I highly recommend the new Horace Parlan record.
Jim, did you have any questions?
This
looks like you want to say something.
No, the Chris Potter. Do you have it on vinyl or I see it on CD available?
They don't do vinyl. No,
okay.
ECM doesn't do vinyl. I wish they did. They used to, but they don't.
CDs are fine.
Depending on who's recording. I mean, I have this Horace Parlan record. I wish I could remember the name of it, the new one, which I have with me. It's out on my record stand in the living room. The record, I mean, as done by Tone Poet, is done by Joe Harley and Kevin Coherent. Kevin, what's Kevin's last name?
Is it Gray?
Kevin Gray. It's better than the CD.
I like all the Tone Poet stuff.
They tweak everything. The Tone Poet, incredible artisanship, great pressing. This is where, these new reissues on vinyl, if they're audiophile, you got to pay more for them. But the pressings are so much better than the original pressings. They're quiet. Quiet. They don't pop. You know, we used to say, you know, Rice Krispies playing surface, snap, crackle, and pop. And I don't know how many times I had to wet track records. I had a little bottle of dishwasher fluid, which I filled up with water when I ran out of fluid. And so if I had a noisy pressing, I would just squeeze it onto the record and wet track, and it would get rid of the surface noise. But so many of those records that I spun year after year had so much noise, even though they were new. So it's, you know, if you're an audiophile, there is a reason to spend a little bit more and get the 180 gram from Tone Poet, or the UMG stuff with the Coltrane, and they just put out Pharoah Sanders Karma. They put out Mel Brown Chicken Fat, a funky record, and other stuff. And for audiophiles, this is just absolutely wonderful.
Well, Tom, we're gonna cut this video, and I'm hoping you'll come back and talk about some other records. Are you willing to do that?
Absolutely. This has been fun.
Yeah, it's been fun. I learned a lot of stuff, and I've got to get my CD and practice that CD opening thing. You know, last time I did it, I broke the hinges, and it needs a little bit of touch to it. But anyway,
yeah,
that's it for me. What about Jim? Any?
Take care, everybody.
All right, Tom. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon. Let's do it again.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.